The last one.
That's true also. We're on the bottom of Pei Zayin Amud Aleph. So the Mishnah had said the din of Zaken Mamre, and the din of Zaken Mamre comes from the pasuk. Zaken Mamre is someone who refuses to accept the conclusion, the psak of the Sanhedrin Hagadol, and it comes from the pasuk. Ki yipalim mimcha davar lamishpat bein dam ledam bein din ledin bein nega lenega divrei rius b'sharech v'kam talisa l'makom asher yivcha Hashem leikecha bay. So we had a brisa on the top of the Amud that went through in detail every word in that pasuk, that it's referring to a different type of psak, a different type of conclusion of the Sanhedrin that the Zaken Mamre refused to comply with. So, and we're going through them one by one now. So it said exactly what Yishon was, and then we said a sheet of Reb Meir. Reb Meir says that a Zaken Mamre is only chayiv if he says a psak on something that is a zdainai karas shegas echat. If you do it on purpose, you get a karas. If you do it by mistake, you get a chat. Now we're going to go through the whole brisa and all the different dinim that we say will apply to a Zaken Mamre and discuss how they could result in a chiyuv karas.
Is Zaken Mamre the right?
Sure. Zaken Mamre gets misa. You can't have something you get misa without. He gets killed. If he defies the Sanhedrin, right? We talked about in the Mishnah the whole process. You go to the local bezin, then you go to the bezin outside. You finally come to the Sanhedrin. You say, "What is the psak?" And they say, "This is the psak." And then this zaken, like we said before, it's not just that he says, "I disagree." He goes and he paskins a halacha. He says, somebody, you think there are going to be a lot of examples of what kind of halachas. He says, even though the Sanhedrin said that this is going to be a nida, I'm saying it's not a nida. It's mutter. And he gets misa for his defiance. That's what the pasuk. It says, "Va'isha sheyasa bezadin levilti shemei lakayin ha'imid." He refuses to listen to the shayvet. You have to kill that person. You have to destroy the evil from Klal Yisrael.
But there's Zaken Mamre, that lashon is not in the Chumash. That's just we derive it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it's in. I don't recall it. So we're right on the bottom of Pei Zayin Amud Mishpat Zehadin. So it says in the pasuk. What does mishpat refer to? It means din, it refers to gzeir shava, where this Zaken Mamre refused to go along with the gzeir shava. What's an example of a din of gzeir shava? Din bitay manusasai. That's talking about the din about bitay manusasai, meaning someone's daughter who's not from his wife, which we had a few blot ago. The Torah doesn't directly address it. The Torah just says about his daughter's daughter or his son's daughter. It doesn't say his daughter himself. Asya Hena Asya Zima Zima. We learn it out with Gzeir Shava, right? Because we have the pasuk that says the einish for Kroivim, and it says by his mother-in-law that the einish is misa. It's an einish of misa of I think of what is it? Einish of Sreifa, I think. And Zima teaches you learn out from just like his wife's daughter he's chayiv on, he's also chayiv on his own daughter. So that's obviously a chiv karas if it's done bizadin. That's something that the isser of bita manusasai is daine karas. Bein dam ledim, bein dam nida, dam leda, dam ziva. So now we're moving on to the next din that we said in the brisa. He disagreed with the Sanhedrin legabe dam nida or dam leda, the dam that would be after a woman gives birth, that she has yemei taira, yemei tuma, and yemei taira, and dam ziva, the din of the zava. So what is dam nida? Kavya ben mahalal rabbanon. This is on this machlek. Zetnan dam hayorik, a greenish type of blood. Akiv malal matam v'cham mitarim. They disagree about whether it's tamei or tar, and that is also a din karas. So if you paskin like one way incorrectly, if you say, I guess according to the man who says that dam hayorik is tamei, the chum is mitar, and he paskin like the chacham when the din is like akavia ben mahalal, then he's gonna be mechayev karas, or he'll be causing someone to do something that would be chayev karas. Dam leda, where do you have a machlekes of dam leda? Again, all these are going to have impact on karas. Plukta v'rav v'levi. Itma Rav Amar Mayin Echad Tayrati Masav Tayrati Hartai. A person who is, when he gives birth, when a woman gives birth, she has a certain a dam leda that results in after the birth, she is tameh for a certain amount of time and then tar, as opposed to regular dam ziva. If she's roya dam after before the leda. It could either be dam nida or it could be dam ziva, but those are two different types of dam. And Rav says that they both come from different sources. I can't justify this, physiologically, but he understands it that those are two. They come from two different places in the woman. I'm sorry, it's all this. I'm sorry. He says it's all from the same place. But one of them, the Torah says, is tar, one it's tameh, one is dam leid, and one is dam ziva. Levi al-mishnei me'yanesim. He says, no, it's two separate things. Nistam tameh niftach atar. Nistam atar niftach tameh. It comes only one at a time. And the nafkamina, Rashi explains, will be if you hold that it's two separate places. So even if the woman continues to be roya dam continuously, so then then you'll still say she's entered into leda. Now it's not. Now it's dam leda. But if you say that it's all from the same makam, but it just switches. So if it's continuously flowing, then we assume it's the same dam. So she wouldn't remain a dam. The dam she sees is still dam ziva, and she's going to have all the dinim of a zav as opposed to the relatively lighter dinim of a leda. Dam ziva. What's an example of dam ziva that is an afkamina in karas? But pluk the Rabbi Yeshua the Tanan. Kishta shloisha yam b'seich achar asar yom. This is talking about the din, again, very similar to the last din, that a woman, when she's roya dam during labor, the dam of leda is not dam ziva. So let's say she was in the 11 days after becoming a nida, where it's possible for her to become a zava gedayla, and she was roya dam for 3 days in a row. If those 3 days were all prior to her giving birth, those 3 days would not make her into a zava, because it's not dam ziva, it's dam kishus, it's dam of labor, and the dam coming from labor, coming from the pain of labor, does not make her tummy ziva. So we said if she had these 3 days, if that dam stopped, if she stopped feeling the pain of labor for 24 hours, then since there was an interruption between those 3 days of being roya dam and the pain stopped, and then it restarted more than 24 hours later, that means that it was false labor. If it was false labor, that dam was not dam from labor, it was rather dam of zava, and she becomes tamei to mazav. He says it's not enough to have 24 hours stoppage in the labor to make it into a false labor, but rather you need that it should be from nightfall till the next nightfall. Well, the way Shabbos is always starts at night. It starts by Shkia and ends the following night, the following Shkia. So he says even if it started a few hours before, then you always have to have a full day of stoppage. So this is more kuladik, because we're saying even if it was 24 hours, it's still not considered to be that the original labor was a false labor, it just was a temporary stop, and it will resume being dam of labor, and therefore won't be treated as dam ziva. It's after min atzar v'loy min adam. Means even if the tsar stopped for less than the amount of time that's considered to be that it's a stoppage, and so therefore it's still continuation of labor. V'loy min adam, even if the dam continued flowing, it doesn't mean that this was all the same dam, and we treat it as the original dam, and therefore it connects it together. Bein din ledin, bein dine mamanis, dine nefashos, dine makas. The next thing that we said in the brisa is that the zaken mamre, if he paskins on dine mamanis, dine nefashos, dine makas, he's going to be considered a zaken mamre. So again, we're trying to justify, and even the Gemara itself doesn't say any of this, but Rashi explains how each one of these things results in a din krisis. Rameya holds it has to be an afkamina increases. So we're going to explain how that is. Dine mamanis, what's the case of dine mamanis? The zaken mamre paskin keneged halacha. But look to the Shmuel Rebavo. Dama Shmuel Shnaim shadanu dineim din. Two dayanim who paskin the din mamanis. It's the din is considered din. El shekroin bezdin chotzav. But one is supposed to use the bezdin of shalish. Rebavo amal divrei hakol ein dinei din. He says, "Kuli alma, it's not going to be considered a din Torah, even b'di'evet." And Rashi says, "What does this have to do with karas?" So this is where things are getting a little slippery. Zakt Rashi, 5 lines down in the wide lines. Since they're arguing about whether 2 dayanim are enough to paskin. So these 2 dayanim went ahead and they took away money from one party and they gave it to the other. They took it from one and gave it to the other. Bedina did who with their psak. And the person who was awarded the money by these 2 dayanim used that money to be mekadesh and isha. The Shmuel mekudesh. According to Shmuel, that's shnayim shadanu dineim din. So then it will be mekudeshes. The Rebavo ain't mekudeshes. To have like kidsha begezel because you're mekadesh begezel. The kaimel and peg ways the gushing avi ma'isa the hayin nashim sheniskachu bekilkula kidsha begezel ain't mekudeshes. It's not mekudeshes. Tashishul de karas. So that's how you can get to karas. The woman is mekudeshes or not mekudeshes depending on what the psak of the 2 dayanim are. Then it will come out if she's married according to one, not married according to the other. You can come to a din karas. And this is going to be. Yeah, you're looking very suspicious.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Very quizzically.
No, because I'm the alphabet over here missing. Kitchen begazel doesn't work. The Gemara says it.
Yeah.
You're not koinik. You're koinik.
It's not yours.
It is yours.
You mean
what?
Kinyan Exela?
Of course.
I think it's psukim in Kedusha.
That's what I'm saying. I must be missing. That's usually what I'm missing. Yeah. The alphabet. I usually miss it what the Torah says. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole Gemara.
Yeah. That's
About
bothering me. Okay.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So, and this is going to be a common theme that there'll be a nafkamina in money, and therefore it will come out that kitcha begezel. It's not just this particular case. There's going to be a bunch of cases from the Brisa that go like this. Dinin nefashos, and what about dinin nefashos? But pluk to the Rebbe v'Rabbanan, the Tanya Rebbe Ayman Nesat and Nefesh Tachas Nefesh. Moment. This is talking about where a man was trying to hit another man. Reuben was trying to hit Shimon, and by mistake he hit Rachel and he killed her, and he was trying to kill Reuven. So Rebbe says, "Ata Ayman Moment Ayin El Nefesh Mamish." He says, in that case, you don't have to. The person who killed the woman does not have to. He doesn't get killed. He only pays money. It says Nesina by the other case of where someone was fighting and he hit a woman and caused her to miscarry, and that certainly is not going to be mechuyev misa. It's only mammon, and it says the lashon of Nesina there. It says, where's the pasuk? So there's nosan beflilim, that's to pay money. So over here also, when it says v'nesata nafesh tachas nafesh, it's also a mammon. Avka mammon.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about a person. The pasuk says
Nefesh tachas nefesh.
v'nesata nefesh tachas nafesh is talking about where a man intended to kill one person, he ended up killing another. So Rabbi paskins that he doesn't get misa, he pays mammon. He does. There's no misa because it's not b'shegig, but he wasn't intending to kill this person. Rabbi holds that's not misa. The Chum disagree. They say no. Even if you intend to kill this person, you killed another one, you still get misa. You were intentionally trying to kill someone. You killed someone. That's considered not a shegig. And Rabbi brings a raya not like that because we say it says nasa lamata, it says nasa lamata. So he says no, it's only mammon. It's not misa. If you don't get misa, then you have to pay for the damage that you did by killing the person. And again, this will come to the same thing like we just said, that the mammon that you pay, it's going to end up, right, because we're talking about misa, we're talking about misa versus mammon. Where does the karas get into it? So karas will get into it if you makadosh an isha with this mammon, so it'll be an eish v'sish. Yeah. The Gemara, Dine Makas, what about Makas? Pluk to the Rebbe Shmuel Rabban and Tanam, Makas begimel. You give Mishum Rebbe Shmuel Amru bechav Gimel, whether you need a bezin of Gimel or a bezin of Chav Gimel to give Malkas. So now again, what does this have to do with Karas? Right, it's talking about Makas. So we're gonna this one you're really gonna love. So Rashi bechav Gimel, then Hilko Gimel. If according to Rebbe Shmuel, according to Rebbe Shmuel, you need a bezin of Chav Gimel. If they disregard it, the Zakat Mamre said no, we're going to give him Malchus with just a bezin of Gimel. Chayavin lo imamin kashar chayvel b'chaveri. Giving him the Malchus is the people who hit him are mechayev mammon to the person they hit. They hit someone illegally. They have to give money. And once you give money, makadosh b'yaseh isha, then that money that he has to pay, he used to be makadosh and isha. Once we give, it's pretty far out. But that's how you get the karas. Benega lenega, benegoi adam, negoi bottom, negoi begodim. The Brisa said it's whether it's a nega in a person, a nega in the house, or a nega in the clothing. Negoi adam bepluk to Rabbi Shua v'Rabbanan. That's talking about the machlekes Rabbi Shua and Rabbanan Tanan. In beheres kadam l'se'er halavan, if there was there's two simonim that you have to make someone a tsaras on a person of this type of tsaras that should be tameh. If he has a white spot together with white hair on it, depends on the status of the white hair. If the white spot came first before the white hair, tameh. But if it's the other way around, if the se'er lavan, if the white hair was there first, you can imagine that white hair, it's just because of his old age, it's not because of tsaras, then he's going to be tar. So that's a machlekes Rabbi Shua and Rabbanan, and that's what the Zakan Mamre was disagreeing about. So there, it's a little more simple how you get to karas. If a person is tameh with tumas tsaras and he goes into the Beis Hamikdash, he's chayiv karas. So it's a question of whether he was tameh tumas tsaras, depending on the status of this white hair that was there before the beheres. Suffolk tameh. If Sarah Klav and comment on tar lebeheres tar Suffolk tameh.
You're not sure which came first.
Yeah, Rabbi Yeshua I'm Suffolk tameh, right? If he says it's the Chum say if it's a Suffolk it's tameh. Rabbi Yeshua I'm a Keya. Rabbi Yeshua says it's Keya. My Keya I'm a Rava Keya tar means that it's tar. Keya is a lashon used in the pasuk to denote a certain type of beheres or a certain type of tsaras that's light and therefore not tameh and it's tar. So all he means to say is that he will hold Rabbi Yeshua will say it's tar. So that's what you have in machlokes. The Rabban and Rabbi Yeshua, and the Lagabi is Suffolk, of which one came first. So therefore, that's how you get to a chiv karas. Bottom, when you have on the house, look to the Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, the Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Rabban, the Tan Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Tameh. We had this a lot ago. How long ago was it? Just out of curiosity. Must not be so long because I remember it. Ayin Aleph. So like 2 weeks ago. That Ein Abayis Tameh, you don't have a Tumah of Tzaras in a house, until the size of the Matzaras is the size of 2 barleys, al shnei avonim, on two separate stones, b'shteik solim, on two walls, b'keren zava. So it has to be spanning over a corner of the house. Archai kishnei grisim, the width of the tsaras has to be 2 grisim, v'rachoi k'gris. My time there was a Rishim ksiv kir or ksiv kiris. Ezo kir kiris. It says kir. It says a lashon of one wall, then it says a lashon of 2 walls. What do you have? One wall that's like 2 walls. Habiyayim bezek keren zavas. That's only in a corner. But the Chamim don't darshan kir kiris. They say it's not referring to that it has to span 2 walls in a corner. As long as there's a tsaras that's the size of a 2 grisim, that's enough to be metame. And again, if it's a question of whether he's tummy or not, then it will be mechuyev tzaras. It'll be mechuyev karis if they go into the Beis Hamikdash. The guy begadim apluk the Reb Yonason ben Av Thomas Rabban. The Tanya Reb Yonason ben Av Thomas Amar Minayin lepricha begadim shehi tahira. How do you know there's a din that a tzaras, if it covers an entire person's body, that's not considered tamei? It's only if it's limited to some, but if it covers the whole body, then he's like an albino. It's not a tzaras. How do you know the same din applies to the begadim, that if it covers the whole beged, that it's not considered tzaras? The same din will apply, that if it spreads over the whole thing, that it's not going to be tamei. So this is what. So whether you agree with this din of Rabbi Yonasan ben Talmus, the Chacham disagree with it. So this is what the Zaken Mamre was disagreeing about.
These are all cases where it was Zaken Mamre, so all this Chacham demand.
All these what?
So all these Chacham that mentioned here, they were all 5.
No. Well, this is a machlokes that they had, and someone paskin on one.
There's no question. I see.
Yeah, the same thing.
Really?
I'm on the last spot too.
Really?
Zaken Mamre. What didn't you know? Why are we giving him?
Zaken Mamre.
He didn't know the machlekes.
He didn't know the psak of the machlokes.
And he passed like one of the man.
He paskined like the Manda Amr, and opposite the way that the Sanhedrin paskined. The Sanhedrin said the halacha is like, let's say, Rabbi Yonasan ben Talmus, and he said no, it's not parcha. It's easier to do it the other way around. He paskined like Yonasan ben Talmus, that if it's spread throughout the beged, it's not tzaras, and therefore you can go into the Beis Hamikdash. And they had gone already to the Sanhedrin at that time, and they said, who do we paskin like? Do we paskin like Yonasan ben Talmus or like the Chacham? And the Sanhedrin said, no, we paskin like the Chachamim. And this one nudnik just ignored what the Sanhedrin paskin.
What we're annoyed at we're giving patch to the Zaken Mamre because he's arguing, or because he didn't know the halacha, he didn't know who to pass like. What's this?
Because he not only did a guy came to him and he said, I have a tzaras in my whole beged. Can I go into the Beis Hamikdash? And he said, he was, let's say he was part of a bezdin, right?
He was part of the first bezdin.
He was part of the first bezdin. And the bezdin said, we're not sure. He said, I think it's tar, and they said, we think it's tar. You go to the bezdin, you go there, eventually ended up by the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin said, the din is we don't pass on the Rabbi Yonasan ben Talmus, it's tamei. And this one judge went back to the guy who asked the question. He said, don't worry. I pass in fakert, you're tar, you can go into the Beis Hamikdash.
And you didn't just pass me, you told him to go ahead and do it.
You have to, right, it has to be.
You have to do it, right?
You have to tell the guy how raw, halacha l'maisa.
It wasn't pshat that
it's not arguing. It's not
right. It's not.
Of course not. Yeah, we have a whole Gemara with full of
right, exactly. Right.
No problem with being chaylik. And even if after if he afterwards says like I disagree with the psak of the Sanhedrin, he's not a Zaken Mamre, right? He's saying I disagree. But if he paskins say l'yirbu machlekes b'Yisrael, we have to have a final psak.
That's what it is. It's not because I didn't know it. That's why we're bringing down all these cases where there's machlekes.
Well, we'll bring down all these cases.
Case number 15 right now. I'm wondering things. Wait. Why are we're going through all this the last blot of Gemara to try to figure out every single case we mentioned the Brisa should have comes to cars. They should have machlekes. I'm wondering why do you need to have a machlekes?
Because it has to be that there's. We're trying to say that they had a disagreement about something. If the guy, as we're going to see later on, if the guy just says, the Torah says yignev instead of lo yignev, it's not even a psak.
Yeah,
That's
what I was wondering.
ridiculous.
That's exactly
You
what I
can't
was
just say stam stupidity.
He's not considered
That he's not a
Zakan
Zakan Mamre, then he's an idiot.
No, Zakan, right? He's not a Sanhedrin. This guy's a Talmud Chacham.
Like it's a guy, bloviating in the back during
Right.
laning and saying, we shouldn't let people get married. Shouldn't let men get married till they're 50.
Yeah,
You don't know halacha.
I'm sure there's a bunch of guys like that. During laning, go out in the hallways. It's like,
Everyone's saying a shita.
Yeah.
Right.
That's me.
There has to be like the next mission. You're going to see there has to be a certain level of validity to what he's saying.
Right. That's okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that.
No problem. No, you want to know what we're talking about here. So the next thing, divrei. It says, right? Divrei rivos b'sharachas. What is divrei? Eloha erichin v'charamim v'hekdeshes. This is erichi olai, then legabi erichin and charamim when he said something to go to, we'll see to who, and hekdeshes. So erichin beplukte remei v'rabbanan. That's not hama'arich pachas ben chodesh. If someone says erkecha olai on someone who's less than 30 days old, so there's no din, the Torah sets certain amounts once you say that value should be on me as to kachim. And if it's less than 30 days, that's not included in the Torah. This doesn't say what it means. So Ramey says, since the Torah doesn't give an amount, we say he must mean something, so it means he wants to give the value of that baby. Chum say no, he just said nonsense, and it's totally disregarded. So again, that money is going to, if it's going to be kachim, then it doesn't belong to him, and if he's mekadesh with it, it's not going to be mekudeshes. Whereas if it's going to chacham, it's still his money, and she will be mekudeshes. Hacharamim, the next din of charamim, but look to Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. That's not Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan. Stam charamim. If someone says, "I'm being chayrim, I'm setting aside this money," it could be to two things. It could be lebedek habayis. It could become kachim that's used for the purposes of the Beis Hamikdash. Shenema kol chayim kodesh kadashim hu Hashem. Charamim stam charamim lakayin. They say it belongs to kayin. It's not kachim, but it just literally belongs to the kayinim. And the nafkamina, Rashi says, is going to be if you make use of that money. If it's kachim, then there's going to be a din mila. And mila, if you do it b'mezid, is get karis. But if it belongs to the kayin, if it goes to the kayinim, then it just it belongs to someone else. There's no din karis on it. So he says from the pasuk, that tells you that it's treated, when he says stam charam, it goes to the kayin. Which the other mandam is said to tell you that it's bedek habayis as opposed to the kayin. He says that it goes both on kachri kachim and kachim kalim. Even if he says charamim, it's still going to have the din. If he's mekadesh, it's going to have a din that it goes lebedek habayis. That he's going to have to then be paid it and give the money to bedek habayis. Hekdeshus, when he's makdish something, but pluk to the Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov Rabban, Tanya Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, afilu tzinoir shel hekdesh, even the small kli of hekdesh. Tzrich asar bnei adam liftais. You need 10 people to be paid it. So, and if he was paid it without those 10 people, the question is going to be: if it's padi, if it's padi, then it won't have a din of milah. If it's not padi, then it still has a din milah. He's going to be chayav kares. Ribois ze hashkosh soita. Arifas ha'agala b'tyrus mitzayra. When the Torah says riba, is talking about disputes. Like we said, the Gemara we explained last night. These are all things that have disputes that are similar to the soita. Obviously, she was fighting with her husband, and Arifas ha'agala, that the man died because of a fighting, and Tyrus mitzayra. He's talking lashon hara. So that's what riba is referring to. So how do these end up with karas? Hashkat soita pluk the rules of Rabbi Shua Datan. If someone there's 2 parts of a saita, he has to first be makani. He tells his wife, "I don't want you to seclude yourself with this man," and then later he secludes with him. She secludes with him. So Rabbi Elazar says you need 2 edim that he gave the original warning, but the fact that she secluded, that could be with an eid echad, or even if the husband himself says, "I saw her seclude with this man that I had warned her against." You need two edim on the fact that she's included with him, as well as the fact that he was makana.
Is the steer? Different than steer. Kinan steer, right?
Yeah, kinan steer,
Yeah.
right.
It says steer, it says mashka.
Mashka means that you give her the mesaita
Give it the one that
because of the stira. So, but again, how does this get to kara? So again, this is going to be take it even a further step. Rashi explains that if she's a saita, so then let's say she's a saita, but you can't be mashka because she admits it. There's many reasons why he wouldn't be mashka, but he divorces her and she doesn't get her ksuba. But if it turns out that she wasn't really a saita, then she doesn't get the ksuba, and that money that was supposed to go for the ksuba will turn out then if he's mekadosh the isha with the ksuba money, then it's not a good kedushin, and therefore you could end up with cars.
It's really important.
Pretty convoluted.
Pretty.
Yeah.
You have to have no other money to be mekadosh.
That's my question on every single case. That Rashi that said that you can't be mekadosh with Gazla. Like, wait a second.
Let's say it's not money. Let's say it's a piece of land or a piece. Let's say you designated a ring.
It has to be. That's not understand Rashi. It has to be
a specific ring. There was a ring that he set aside for the ksuba. She was entitled to it. And the question is, who does it belong to him or does it belong to her?
It's more of that, right? Mom and them, lashly, he was like, you can't differentiate between this money and that money.
Yeah. So Ariva said, "Bepluk to the Rebbe Elazar Rabbi Akiva the Tanan. May ayin hayu moedidim? From which point of the animal, of the mace, do you measure to know which town has to bring the egla arufa? Which one is closer? Rebbe Elazar Ayim b'tiburay from his stomach, Rabbi Akiva from his nose, Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov ben Makom shenasa chalal mitzavari. He says from the place where he was killed, which normally means from his neck. So the money of this egla arufa again is going to be the same thing. Which town was really supposed to bring it? The one that wasn't supposed to bring it, that money will not be an egla arufa. It will still belong to the town, and I don't know, belongs to somehow it's a single person.
And a single person will marry there. If it's a chagad, yeah.
Right. Yeah. V'imad zak mamrei mitiburei ubezem echayim beviu elo agala mar zu agala asur ve'em mekachim ba v'zu eina agala mekachim ba lamar haveifat. So it's not really who the money belongs to. In this case, it's slightly different. An egla and rufa is aser and hana la'olam. So the one that's not an egla and rufa could then be sold to someone and he could use it to be mekadosh. But the one that's an egla roof, you can never sell it. You have to just dispose of it. Tyrus mitzaira, beplukta der shimiv rabban. Tan ein lei bain yad bain ragel oizen yaman. Is part of the procedure of being mitar. Mitzaira is to put dam and oil on his thumb and his big toe, and on his ear. But if he's missing these limbs, he can't become tar. He says you put it on the place where the thumb was or the big toe should be, and he's yaitzer. You put it on the left. So if someone used the wrong way and so according to one man number, they'll still be a mitzvah. If they go into the base of Mikdash, they'll be chayiv kares. But according to the other man number, they become tar, so there won't be cars.
No, that's far-fetched. Okay.
No, that's not so bad. B'sharecha zeh leket shikha peya, leket etnan shnei shivalim leket shloisha einan leket. 2 shivalim are leket, meaning when you leave over individual straws or pieces of wheat, you're not allowed to pick. If you left over 2, you can't pick them up. You have to leave them for aniyim. But shloisha, then you can pick them up. Shikha shnei aimrim. Shnei Aimrim 2 bundles, Shikha, Shikha, Shloisha Einan Shikha, 3 are not Shikha. Balkul Beishamai Aimrim Shalosh La'ani V'arba L'Balabais. Beishamai disagrees. He says it's not 2 you leave and 3 you take, but rather 3 you leave and 4 you take. So if you're going to leave it back, it's going to question: does it belong to the Balabais or does it belong to the Ani? And again, Mekadosh Nisha with it. Pei B'pluk to the Rabbi Shmuel Rabban and the Tan. Mitzvahs Peya. You have to leave over a corner of your field. You have to leave. So the man mitzvah's pay is to leave over a corner of the field from the standing wheat. Remember, if he neglected to do so, he leaves over from the bundles of wheat. We didn't from the bundles, and he does it when it's piled up. Until the grains, the separated grains, are smoothed over. Once it's in the pile, then he has to, at that point, the jig is up, he has to take from that and give the payah. If he doesn't do so, then it's too late. You can even be mafish later on from the dough. Okay. Okay, I guess we'll try to do this tonight, Be'ez Hashem. Start now.